Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be working on the matching Afghan, well I shouldn't say Afghan, baby blanket for the Cuddly Clusters layette set. So we've already, we've got the cardigan, we've got the matching baby booties, we've got the matching hat. So here we go for the baby blanket. Now this is really easy. It's a 1-row repeat. And you just repeat that 1 row until you get to the height of the blanket you would like. My baby blanket measures 33, roughly 33 inches wide by 44 inches tall. I'm sure if I lay it out and, kind of go like this, I'm sure it'll be a little bit bigger, but that is the measurements of mine, and I used Bernat Baby Sport. This is from Walmart. I used white and baby blue. Make sure if you are going to make the entire set, you need 2 skeins white, 2 skeins blue, and make sure you have the matching dye lots. And then I used a 4mm crochet hook. Where is it at? I used a 4mm crochet hook with the 3-weight. But for purposes of this tutorial, we are going to use a 4-weight, which is just some scrap yarn I have. It's Red Heart Super Saver in buff, and I don't have a label for the purple. But I used the 4-weight yarn with a 6mm crochet hook just for today's purposes. But you can use whatever hook size you want with whatever yarn you want. Just keep in mind, if you are using a bigger yarn and a bigger hook, you're going to have a bigger blanket. I mean, simple as that, right? Okay, so get your yarn and get your hook, get a stitch marker and a needle to weave in your ends, get you a pair of scissors and a tape measure to keep track of the height of your baby blanket. Now I do want to talk about a couple of things before we get started. The chain multiple for this stitch pattern is any multiple of 4 plus 2. So 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and then add 2. So for my baby blanket with the 4-weight yarn, or I'm sorry, 3-weight yarn, size 4mm crochet hook, my beginning chain was 146. Okay, now that's with my tension and working my pattern. It comes out to 33 inches wide, and then I work the 1-row repeat, changing color every 4th row to 44, give or take a ½ inch, 44 inches. Okay, so there's that. And I do want to also mention that throughout my entire layette set, I repeatedly tell you guys that a part of this pattern is a chain 3, right? And I repeatedly say, work the chain 3 tight. However, for this baby blanket, this is the one project that we don't work the chain 3 tight. You just work that chain 3 like a normal everyday tension. Nothing fancy, okay? So do not work a tight chain 3 on the baby blanket. And I also want to talk to you about my color change. So I do work 3 rows of white, 1 row of blue. 3 white, 1 blue. Now you can work your color changes however you want to. Just keep in mind that 1 row, so if I got a cat hair, if I hold up my work right here, you notice how you see the back of the cluster, front, back, front, back, front. So every other row is flipped. So if you work 1 row blue, 1 row white, well, let's go 2 row white, 1 row blue. So let's pretend this row right here is blue. You will notice that 1 row of blue down here, the back is showing, but if you worked this one blue also, the front is showing. So you got to keep in mind that you need to keep it to where you know, like on my piece, I worked the back, 3-row white, you know, and then the blue. So each row of blue, the back of the cluster is facing me. Does that make sense? So if I worked this row right here in blue, it would be off because this row of blue is facing me, or is facing away from me, where this row would be facing me. So it would make it look odd because it wouldn't be, you know, the same. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. So if I hold this, well, the piece that we make in the video today, if I hold it like this, you can see the texture that the stitch pattern gives, right? So it would look funny if, you know, the cluster is facing you on one time and then the next time it's not. So it would be a little bit smaller because the cluster that's facing us is a little, or I mean, away from us is a little, facing us is a little smaller than the one that's away from us. Clear as mud. Okay, you guys will understand what I'm talking about whenever you work the pattern. I'm sure 4 or 5 of you are probably like, good grief, just get on with it. I know. I hear it enough in the comments. Anyway, so I wanted to give you that, and then I also wanted to let you know that the 1-row repeat starts with a single, ends with a double, okay? So each row, each repeat for the row starts with a single, and then it ends with a double, okay? And then you just work that 1 row, and then change color whenever you want to. Like I said, just keep in mind your cluster is facing you or not facing you. And definitely weave in your ends as you go, okay? Because it is a nightmare to do them all at the end. All right, and as far as a border, I did not add one. I am perfectly happy with the way mine looks without it. I mean, this is what it's going to look like. Straight edge, bumpy top, straight bottom. You can definitely add a border to it. I decided that I liked mine the way it is, so I left it. Let's see, what else? Make sure you end your baby blanket in the same color you began. And that's it. That is it. Get your supplies together and let's get started. Okay, so once you have your chain length done, you are ready to go. We are going to start row 1. Row 1 starts with a single crochet into the second chain from our hook. Oh, excuse me, so not that one, but that one right there. Single crochet into there. And we are going to chain 3. Okay, so now we're going to start the beginning 4 double crochet cluster. So there's 2 types of cluster throughout, well, I shouldn't say throughout this Afghan. It's just this row is one, and then the rest of the Afghan, the baby blanket, is a different one. So that's why I refer to the cluster I'm getting ready to show you as the beginning 4 double crochet cluster, and then it's just a 4 double crochet cluster throughout the rest of the pattern. So for the beginning 4 double crochet cluster, well, first let me explain this. The reason this is referred to as a 4 double crochet cluster is because it has the beginning of 4 double crochets in it. Okay, so we start a double crochet 4 times, and then that's what makes up the 4 double crochet cluster. Now, what makes this the beginning 4 double crochet cluster is because the first 2 double crochets are worked into 1 chain. So 1 and 2 are into 1 chain. 3 and 4 are into how do I say that? 3 is into the next chain and 4 is into the next chain. Okay, so what we're gonna do, just get right into it instead of keep trying to explain this. I don't want to confuse you. Sorry, I just bumped my table. We are going to start by yarning over, go into the very next chain, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 1. That's the beginning of 1 double crochet. So for 2, we yarn over, go right back into that same chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's the beginning of 2 double crochet. So number 3 goes into the next chain, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then number 4 goes into the next chain. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on your hook at the end of your 4 double crochet cluster. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 5. Chain 1. So that is what the beginning 4 double crochet cluster looks like. So I'll just show you on the baby booty since I have it right here. The only thing that's different with the 4 double crochet cluster that we work throughout the rest of the Afghan is that all 4 of the 4 double crochets are worked around a chain 3. That's the only difference. All right, so let's go ahead and single crochet into the next chain, and the single crochet is your pattern repeat for the row. So we single, chain 3. And I want to pause here because I need to take a note real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. As I film, I have a little notepad where I jot down notes, and I wanted to make sure I jotted down something. Anyway, so throughout this entire layette set, I tell you guys to work that chain 3 tight. This baby blanket is the only time we don't work that chain 3 tight. We just work normal tension, just normal chains. Okay? Okay, so we have our single, chain 3, and now we start our beginning 4 double crochet cluster again. So we yarn over, go into the very next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go right back into that same chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 1 and 2. 3 is into the next, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and number 4 is into the next chain. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So at the end you should have 5 loops, 3, 4, 5, yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. Start the pattern repeat over again. Single crochet into the next chain. Chain 3, beginning cluster. I'm going to show you guys one more time. Yarn over, go into the very next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go right into the same chain again, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So there's the first and the second. We need number 3 into the next chain. So go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and number 4 into the next chain. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. And start your pattern repeat again. Single crochet into the next chain, chain 3. I'm going to work this a little bit faster now. Into the next chain with 1. Same chain for number 2. Next chain for number 3. And the next chain for number 4. Yarn over, pull through all 5 loops, chain 1. Single crochet into the next chain, chain 3. Beginning cluster 1 and 2, 3 into the next, and 4 into the next. Now once you've repeated that all the way across your row, you should end, pull through all 5, chain 1. You should end with working the last cluster into, working your last cluster, having one chain left. So you chain 1, and we are going to double crochet into that last chain. So come down and work your double crochet. Okay, so that is the end of row 1. Now, okay, my baby blanket, I worked 1 row of blue. That's what I started with right here. And then 3 white. 1 blue, 3 white. 1 blue, 3 white. Now you can do whatever you want to do. You know, you could have 2 blue, 2 white, or you could do 2 blue, 4 white, 2 blue, 4 white. You know, it's completely up to you. The only thing I do want to say is keep in mind that you are going to have several ends to weave in. I had quite a few with just working 1 blue, 3 white, 1 blue, 3 white, and definitely weave those in as you go. But so I'm going to let you guys decide however you want to do it. I will be working in the tutorial the 1 purple, 3 buff. What is that, buff? No, that's, yeah, it is. 1 purple, 3 buff. 1 purple, 3 buff, just as my baby blanket. So if you guys don't want to change color, all you have to do is chain 1 and turn, okay? And then just hold on just a second. But if you do want to change color, like I'm getting ready to, we're going to chain 1, pull up a loop, and go ahead and cut. Weave in your end. I'm telling you, do not leave that set. And then go ahead and turn. And then I'm going to get my buff. Get a slip knot on my hook, and as always, make sure you've got plenty of tail to weave in. And I am going to attach right into the top of that double crochet with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then pull that tail tight. Okay, so regardless whether you change color or not, go ahead and we're going to start the pattern. So single crochet right back into that very first double. We are going to come to the top of the cluster. So if you hold your work like this, try to get somewhere where there's not quite such bright lights. If you hold your work like this and you are looking at the top of your stitches, right? You notice how occasionally there's a big stitch and then the rest of them are average size, and then there's a big stitch and the rest of them are average. Every big V that you see is the top of your cluster. So you can look at it like that, or if you turn your work like this, and you'll see the top of all of your clusters come together right here, and then the big V right there, that's the top of your cluster. What we're going to do is single crochet into the top of our cluster. So if I look and hold it like this, if you give it just a little bit of a tug, see that little bitty hole right there? That's the top of your cluster. So put your hook right in there and single crochet. All right, so now that is the, no, that's not, I'm sorry. I was looking at my written pattern and I was going to tell you that's the pattern repeat, but it's not. So we single, chain 3, and then we're going to come down and work our 4 double crochet cluster around that chain 3. So yarn over, go in. We're doing the exact same thing we have done. The only difference is we're working all 4 of the 4 double crochets around that chain 3. Yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. Now we're to the pattern repeat. So we single into the top of that cluster. So if you hold your work and kind of give it a little bit of a pull, that little bitty hole right there, that is the top of your cluster. Or you can look at it like this and see the big V with all the little V's. The big V is the top of our cluster. So we're going to come in there and single crochet. And then you just repeat, chain 3, 4 double crochet cluster around the chain 3. I'm going to go a little bit faster. 5 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. Find the top of your next cluster. See it right there, that hole? Single crochet in there, chain 3. Come down, 4 double crochet cluster around that chain 3. 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. Find the top of your next cluster, right there, single crochet into there, chain 3. 4 double crochet cluster around that chain 3. 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. Find the top of your last cluster, single, chain 3, cluster around the last chain 3, 2, there's 3, and there's 4, yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. And I should have used a stitch marker to mark, oops, to mark that single crochet, but if you didn't mark it like mine, just turn your work and that single crochet is laid sideways right towards you, right there. We are going to work a double crochet into the very last single crochet. So just like that. And all we're going to do is repeat row 2. The only difference is where you guys want to change color. So if you want to change color, all you have to do is exactly what I showed you when I changed color. But for mine, since I'm not going to change color, all I'm going to do is chain 1 and turn, single crochet into the very first double. And then I am going to mark that so I don't lose it. All right, chain 3. Oh, I'm sorry. Chain 3. We're going to come over and find the top of that cluster. So right there, if you pull it, you can see the top. We're going to single crochet into there, then chain 3. Now we cluster around the chain 3. 4 double crochet cluster around the chain 3, I should say. Pull through all 5 loops, chain 1, come down, single, chain 3, 4 double crochet cluster. No, not a double. Sorry, I finished that double and I shouldn't have. Okay, 4 double crochet cluster around the chain 3. So I have 1, there's 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. Find the top of that next cluster, single crochet, chain 3. Work your 4 double crochet cluster around your chain 3. Yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. Single crochet, that was not right. Single crochet into the top of that cluster, chain 3, 4 double crochet cluster around the chain 3, 5 loops on your hook, pull through all 5, chain 1. Into the last cluster, single crochet, chain 3, 4 double crochet cluster around your last chain 3, chain 1, pull through all 5 loops, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops, chain 1, and we're going to come down and double crochet into that very last single crochet. And there you go. So all you're doing is repeating chain 1, turn, single crochet into the top of that double, single crochet into the top of the cluster, chain 3, and then start your 4 double crochet cluster around the chain 3. Is that 3? One more. Ooh. Yarn over, pull through all 5, chain 1. And that's what you're going to repeat. Mine has a little bit of a bow to it right now, but once you get your pattern worked out, just give that a tug and it comes out of it. And then, you know, has the straight edges. But, so all you're going to do is repeat row 2 and then changing color whenever you guys want to change color. So I am actually going to work this up a little bit more. I'm going to finish my 3rd row of buff, then work my 1 row of purple, 3 rows of buff, 1 row of purple. So that is what you're going to repeat, and then you end on the same row that you began with. So, or same color that you began with. So mine is purple, so I'm going to end on a purple row, okay? So I'm going to work a few rows and I will be back. Okay, so I repeated that a couple times, changing color. 3 rows of the buff, 1 purple, 3 rows buff, 1 purple. And there you go. All I did is weaved in my ends and ended on the same color that I started with. Now, you can definitely add a border to this. I struggled and struggled trying to come up with a border, and finally I was just like, you know what? Forget it. I'm leaving it the way it is. I like it. So my finished piece, I'm super happy with. I think this is just adorable. I love it. I'm folding it right now. But anyway, I mean, that's it, guys. It's super easy, and it makes such a pretty texture. Oh, yeah. This is pretty. Okay, so that is it from me for today. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't, because I've got a ton of things in my mind to do for 2024 that's just right around the corner. And leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Check out the description box. I got links down there for you guys. And, links for the rest of the layette set. So the little cardigan, the hat, and the booties. And that is it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, we're going to be working on this beautiful baby blanket. So before we get into the size, let's talk about what you're going to need. I used, get them all on here for you. I used 4 different colors of Hirschner's Worsted 8. It's a 4-weight, 100% acrylic, 489 yards per skein, but you can use any 4-weight you want, any 4 colors. These are just the 4 I used. Or you could do 2 colors, however you want to do it. You're going to need some stitch markers, which, as always, these are optional. You don't have to use these, but I like to use them for a stitch at the beginning and for a stitch or for a marker at the beginning and the end of our row. You're going to need a yarn needle. Today we're going to be using a 6mm hook and a pair of scissors. Alright, so let's talk about the baby blanket. So our blanket, mine, measures 29 inches across and get the tape measure straight, 35 inches long. So the stitch multiple of this pattern is 10 plus 7. So 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 plus 7. So for, get this out of the way. So for my baby blanket, I chained 127 using the, I'm sorry, I should have told you guys the colors. So this one's eggplant. Then we have orchid. Then we have jade. And then glacier. So I started, actually I'm going to line these up the exact same way I did the colors on the baby blanket. So I started out with the eggplant, and then I went to jade, and then I went to the orchid, and then I went to the glacier. So that's the color combination I went in. So I started with the eggplant. Now, since I already have my baby blanket done, I'm going to show you guys on a smaller scale. So I have my hook, get a slip knot on my hook, and like I said, I chained 127 for my baby blanket. So it's multiples of 10 plus 7. So I'm just going to work up a few just for tutorial purposes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my little chain done. I just did a little chain of 47. And to start our pattern, for row 1, we're going to single crochet into the second chain from hook. So not this one, but this one. We're just going to work a single crochet. And now this is where I like to mark them. Like I said, you don't have to. I just prefer to do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that first single crochet we have right there. Alright, so we single crocheted in the second chain from hook. Now we're going to single crochet into the next chain. Now we skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3. Into the next, we're going to work 7 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we skip 3 chains. Don't forget the one that's kind of, messed up. Oh, excuse me, underneath our 7 double crochets. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3 into the next with a single crochet. And a single crochet into the next 2. So now we have 3 singles. So now we skip 3, 1, 2, 3, 7 double crochet into the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next 3. And that's what we're going to repeat for row 1, 2, and 3. Skip 3, 7 double crochet into the next. Skip 3, a single into the next 3. Skip 3, 7 double crochet into the next. Skip 3, a double crochet into the next 3. And we're going to repeat this all the way to the end, and I will meet you guys to the end of our row 1, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and I've worked my 7 double crochet, skip 3, 3 singles, and now at the end you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 chains left. We're going to skip 3, and we're going to work 4 double crochet into this last chain. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Tighten up that slip knot. And that's what your row 1 should look like. Go ahead and mark my last double. Okay, so at the end of row 1, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to change color. So pull up a little loop so you have enough to weave in. Cut this. Pull that tight. And now we're going to go on to our next color. Okay, so now I've got my next color, which is jade. I'm going to get a slip knot, making sure I have enough tail to weave in. Get a slip knot on my hook. And now what we're going to do, and you can use any method you prefer to change yarn colors. This is just what I preferred to do. So I've got my slip knot on my hook. I'm going to go right into that last double crochet we worked. Work a slip knot, a slip stitch, I'm sorry. Chain 1, and now we turn. So for row 2, we're going to single crochet right back into that same double crochet that we slip stitched to. Work a single, and a single into the next. And now we chain 1. And now what we're going to do is work 7 double crochet together over the next 7 stitches. So to start that, we're going to yarn over. We're going to go into the first stitch, pull up a loop. And we want to pull it up a little bit so it's the height of a double. We're going to yarn over, yarn over, pull through. We're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull it up a little bit, yarn over, pull through. That's 2. Here's 3, yarn over, pull through. Here's 4, yarn over, pull through. Here's 5, pull up, yarn over, pull through. Here's 6, pull up a loop, pull through, and here's 7. Pull it up a little bit, yarn over, and pull through. So now we should have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and loosely, or very easily, pull through all 8 of those loops. And now we're going to loosely chain 1. And the reason we do that loose is because in the next row, we're going to be working into that chain 1 that closes our 7 double crochet 7 together. Bleh. Okay, so now what we're going to do, get my needle because I want to show you guys. What we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch right into the side of this last double crochet of the 7 that we worked. So if you look, we have a strand here, I'll say, and then a strand here for that double. Well, we're going to go right between both of those, and if you look, we're going to catch another strand on the back. So we're going right through that double crochet and catching the front and the back, just like that. So we're going to slip stitch right in there. See how I got those the two legs right there? I'm just going to loosely slip stitch in there. And now we're going to slip stitch right into the same double crochet that we worked into, worked our last double crochet of the 7. We're going to slip stitch right in there, and it's pretty easy to see because it's a different color, right? So we chain 1, and now we're going to single crochet into the next 3 doubles. 1, 2, and 3. And now we repeat. We chain 1, work our 7 double crochet together right here, So we yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to keep that, keep doing that until we've got 7. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and here's a little trick on how I like to know how I'm keeping track of where I am. Every time we work the 7 double crochet together, the 5th double crochet is always into the last single of the set of 3. So there's 1, 2, and then right there's that last single. So I always kind of, like when I'm working this pattern, I always knew I was right on track if my 5th double crochet of the 7 together goes into the last single of the set of 3 from the last round. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that was 5, 6, and 7. 3, 6, 7, 8 loops. Yarn over, easily pull through the 8, lightly chain 1, slip stitch into the side of our last double, making sure you get the front and that back loop. Slip stitched into the same double that our last double crochet of the 7 went into. Chain 1, single crochet across the next 3 doubles. Chain 1, we start our 7 together. Yarn over, go in, pull through 2, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, there's the last single, so I know I'm on track, 6, and 7. Yarn over, pull through all 8 loops, loosely chain 1, slip stitch into the side of the last double, slip stitch into the base of the last double, chain 1, got strand is looking weird, we chained 1, now we single into the next 3 doubles, chain 1. Now we're going to work our 7 double crochet together. Yarn over, pull through 1, 2, 3, 4. My 5th one is into that last single, so I know I'm on the right track. 5, 6, and 7. 3, 6, 7, 8 loops, yarn over, pull through all 8, chain 1, slip stitch into the side of that last double, slip stitch into the base, chain 1, single crochet over the next 3 doubles. So you guys go ahead and repeat that all the way across for row 2. And to end row 2, since I'm already here, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So I've worked my last 3 singles. So I'm going to chain 1. And now we should have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left for row 1 or of row 2. So we're going to yarn over, and this time we're working a 4 double crochet together instead of 7. So it's the same process, just we're only doing 4. 1, 2, 3. I'll go ahead and remove my stitch marker. And 4. So we should have 3, 4, 5. Oops. 3, 4, 5. 5 stitches, yarn over, pull through all 5, and we're going to chain 2. And that is the end of row 2. So go ahead and get your row 2 worked up and come back, and we're going to start row 3. Alrighty, so for row 3, we're not going to change colors. We're going to turn and into the chain that we worked that closed that 4 double crochet together. Make sure you guys can see this. So it's right here, right on the side. You see that? So we chained 1 to close our double crochet together, and then we chained another one, and then we turned. So now we're going to work 4 double crochet into that chain 1 that closed our 4 together, right? So we're going to yarn over and we're going to go right in there with 4 doubles. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I'm going to go ahead and stop. And the very first double is facing right at you. See it right there? So I'm going to mark that. And when I mark it, I like to kind of give it a little tug to pull it to the side. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet into the next 3 singles. But here's the thing. Don't get confused with this. This is not our single. It's a slip stitch and a chain 1. So our first single is right here, our second single, and our third single. So don't get confused with this part right here, okay? So now we just single into the next 3 single crochets. 2 and 3. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work 7 double crochet into that chain 1 that closed the 7 double crochet together. And this is why I told you guys to work that chain 1 loosely, because it does get to be a little pain in the butt if you don't, if you accidentally work that too tight. So we're going to yarn over and just go straight in there with 7 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to scooch a little bit. 5, 6, and dang it, 7. And now we go right into the 3 singles, into the single crochets from the last row. And that's all this row is. So we worked our 3 singles, 7 double crochet into this chain 1, which, I mean, if you guys look at your the base at all of these double crochets right here from the 7 together, where they all come together, right there is how you know where your chain 1 is, where they all come in right in there. That's where your 7 double crochets go. 1 single into the next 3 singles, 7 double, 1 single into the 3, 7 double. So go ahead and finish your row 3, and I'll meet you guys back here when I get to the last 7 double crochet into that chain 1. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm coming back and I've made it to the end of row 3, and all we're going to do to end row 3 is a single crochet into the last 2 singles. And I wish I would have marked that so I could show you better. I forgot to use my stitch marker. So if we look, we have this single and this single, which this one is a little stretched out because it's got the slip stitch, the chain 1, and then the single. But all we're going to do is to end row 3 is a single and the last 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to change color. So we're going to pull this up a little bit. Just make sure we got enough tail to weave in. All right, so now we are going to go to, let's see, what's this color again? Can't remember the names of them. Orchid. Now we're going to go with the orchid. Alrighty, so all we're going to do is the same thing. Get a slip knot on our hook. And remember, like I said, you guys can use any method you use to attach your new colors. I'm going to go right in there with a slip stitch. And a chain 1. Okay, so now we're on row 4. Need to look at my pattern. Row 4, we're gonna, where'd my tail go? Lost it. Okay, so we slip stitch, chain 1, and we're gonna turn. And we're gonna go right back into that first stitch that we slip stitched into with a double. Get that tail out of the way. And now we are going to work 3 double crochet together over the next 3 stitches. So we yarn over, go into the first, pull up, pull through. That's 1, 2, and 3. 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 4, chain 1, and we're still going to slip stitch into the side just like we always have. Slip stitch into the base, chain 1, single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I'm going to mark my double crochet, the first one of the row, my stitch marker. Okay, so now we go back into the 7 double crochet together. We worked our 3 single, chain 1, and we're going to work 7 double crochet into the next 7, making sure our 5th one is into the last single. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5, and it's in that last single, 6, and 7. 8 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 8, and loosely chain 1. And now with that, I just want to tell you guys this, with that 5th double crochet in that last single, that's just what I did. I mean, that's kind of how my brain works. But if you also look, we have our last single, our 1st, 2nd, 3rd is into our 3rd double crochet is into the 1st, 4th, 5th double is into the last single crochet of the set of 3, 6 is into the 1st double, and then 7 is into the 2nd double. So it just helps because it is easy to kind of get lost in your stitches and where you're supposed to be. And like at one point I was working across and I got all the way across my baby blanket and I was like, wait a minute, the bottom halves of the circles are offset just a tad, you know, so like it'd be, instead of being like this, it'd be like this. And I was like, what is going on? And I got to looking at it and noticing I was off 1 stitch all the way across. So that taught me real quick to count where I was. Okay, so back to what we're doing. We got our 7 double crochet together, chain 1 to close it up. We're going to slip stitch into the side. See how I got those 2 loops on there? And slip stitch into the base. Chain 1, single crochet over the next 3. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and 7 double crochet over the next. So go ahead and repeat 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat your row 4, and I'll meet you guys at the end. Okay, so I've made it to the end of row 4, and I've worked my last 7 double crochet together. I'm going to loosely chain 1, slip stitch into the side, slip stitch into the base, chain 1, and now we have 2 stitches left, right? The one we have marked and the one right here. Now all we're going to do is just single crochet into the last 2 stitches. 1 and 2. All right, so that's the end of row 4. So row 5, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. Row 5 starts with single crocheting into the first 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And now we're going to go straight into the 7 double crochet into the center of our 7 together, into that chain 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to scooch that over a little bit. 5, 6, and 7. Single crochet into the next 3 singles. 1, 2, and 3. And that's the repeat all the way across. 7 doubles into the chain 1 that closes our 7 double crochet together, and a single into the 3 singles, 7 double, single into the 3, 7 double, single into the 3, and I'll meet you guys at the end. Okay, so I've made it to the end. Got my 7 double, 3 single, and now what we're going to do is we're going to work 4 double crochets into the very last stitch. And yes, it is kind of a stretch, but it's going to get work, I promise. Take my stitch marker out. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go right into that last stitch, and I'm going to kind of pull that up a little bit. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And to end row 5, you're going to change color, which in this case you would go to the glacier. But I'm not going to do that, because basically what you're going to do now is you're going to repeat rows 2 through 5, changing color at the end of row 3 and at the end of row 5. So we have row 1, then we have 2, 3, we change color, 4, 5, we change color, then 2, 3, you're going to change color, 4, 5, and you're going to change color. So you just repeat that, repeat 2 through 5, 2 through 5, 2 through 5, changing color, changing your color at the end of row 3 and row 5. And just keep repeating that until your blanket measures 35 inches long. If you did the chain 127, like I did for my baby blanket here. Now, if you went wider than the 125 I did, then you might, or I'm sorry, the 127 I did, then you may need to, lay it out and look at it. Does it look like it's a more rectangle than square, and you like the length, then fasten off. But what you're going to do is you're going to repeat rows 2 through 5 for the length of your blanket. I'm trying to get this to where it lays straight so you can see what I'm going to tell you. And changing color after row 3 and row 5, right? And keep going, keep going, keep going till you like your length, and then stop on the same color you started with on row 4. Okay, so that gives us that straight edge, just like the bottom. Although, yes, our bottom does have a bigger hole from our 7 double crochet. That's all right. And that is it, guys. You're more than welcome to add a border to this. I chose not to because I like the look of baby blankets without a border. I think sometimes the border takes away from the pattern of the baby blanket, right? And I just kind of like it without it. But you guys are more than welcome to add one. Honestly, if you do the same colors as me, I do a border in that dark color. In the dark, what is that, eggplant? I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, it's eggplant. But do your border in that color. And if you decide, you're going to do it in different colors, no big deal. But go with, see how my eggplant and my purple, what was that one called? Orchid. The eggplant and the orchid are both purple, right? But one's just dark and one's light. And then on the jade and the glacier, they're both a shade of green, but just one's darker and one's lighter. Base your colors off that. If you wanted to do blue, do a dark blue and then a light blue. And then let's say you wanted to do red. Do a dark red and then a lighter shade of red. And that's how I got that this pretty color, this look, I guess I'll say. Anyhow, so that is it, guys. I hope you enjoy. Hope you make tons of baby blankets using this pattern. Hey, check out my description box. I've got links to a Facebook group. I've got links to Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. My Etsy shop. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Hit that like button and leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And I got a baby, or baby pillow coming with that's gonna match this. I'm super excited about. Anyhow, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. And in today's tutorial, we are going to be working on this baby blanket, the My Little Man baby blanket. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to talk about before we get started. So I used 3 cakes of Caron Big Cake in the color, where's the color? There it is. Jordan Almonds. It's a 4-weight, so you can use any 4-weight for this. 100% acrylic. But I used 3 cakes, and this is my scraps. You're gonna have a little bit of scrap because the way we work this. So if you look, I worked 3 rows of one color and then changed. 3 rows of one color, changed. 3, 3, 3, 3. Now some rows will be your row of single, your doubles, or your row of singles. But another color could be a row of double, a row of single, row of singles, and a row of doubles. So they may not be exactly the same, but that's all right. Not a problem. I show you in the video how to change colors at the end of your 3rd row. And the other thing I want to talk about is in the video, I show you how to do fringe at the top and the bottom of your baby blanket. After filming, I actually changed my mind. I decided I liked the way it looked without fringe. Because the colors are so, beautiful. Just adding fringe, I didn't like the way it looked. So I actually took it off and changed my mind. But it's completely up to you. You guys can do fringe if you want, however you do it in a solid color, do all of it different, it's up to you. But you're gonna need a 5.5mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a yarn needle to weave in all your ends, and I'm pretty sure that's it. Oh, and 3 cakes of your Caron Big Cakes. But this stitch pattern is kind of my go-to when I have, like, you ever go to Michael's or Joann's, whichever one sells the Caron cakes, and you see a color you love, and you're like, I'm going to get a bunch of that because I want to make a baby blanket or what have you out of it. Well, then you don't know what to do. This is my pattern. This is my go-to pattern for when I have some Caron cakes to get rid of and I don't know what to do with it. So I actually have 2 or 3 blankets made out of this. If I can remember, I'll add a picture in here. So one more thing I do want to add on here. I want to kind of give a little shout out and a thank you to an Etsy shop that helped me out because I had 2 of these, 2 cakes to make this baby blanket. And about halfway through the 2nd, I realized I'm not going to make it. I'm going to need another cake. Well, with quarantine and I think maybe the season change, I could not get this color anywhere. So I got on Etsy and I searched Caron Big Cakes Jordan Almond, and I found an Etsy shop. It's Plushy Panorama on Etsy. P-L-U-S-H-I-E Panorama. Panorama. and she had what I needed, and I ordered it, and it got here in like 2 days. I was extremely satisfied and happy that she had it. She got it to me, and I want to give her a shout out and tell her thank you so much for saving the day for me. Okay, but anyhow, let's get your stuff together, and we're going to get started on this. Okay, so we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. And we're going to chain a multiple of 17 plus 1. Now, for my baby blanket, I chained a total of 154. But since I'm just going to do it on a smaller scale right here, I'm going to work 17, 17, and then 1. So go ahead and start your chain. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, plus 1. Okay, so for round 1, or row 1, we're just going to single crochet in the second chain from our hook. So not this one, but right in there. We're just going to work a single crochet. And that's going to be round 1. Single crochet straight across all of your chains. So go ahead and work your single crochets and come back, and I'll meet you when I get to the end. Okay, so I've made it across. I've got 2 little chains left to single into. 1, and there's the last one. Alright, that's the end of row 1. And this pattern is a 2-row repeat. It's really simple. Come on, there it goes. Okay, so for row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And into that first single right there, we're going to work 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2. I feel like I'm really close. Okay, so into the next one, the next single crochet, and the next single crochet, we're going to work 2 doubles into each one. So we're going to have a total of 6 doubles right here. 2, 4, and 6. So 2 into the next. 1, 2, 1, and 2. Alright, so now what we're going to do, so every single crochet that we work that has 2 double crochets in it is going to be our peak, like the peak of our little mountain, and then we come to the valley, and then the peak and the valley. So here's our little half peak for the beginning of our baby blanket. Now we're going to start the valley. So the valley is skip the next, into the next with 1 double. Skip, 1 double. Oops. Skip, 1 double. And we're going to repeat this until we have 5 lonely little doubles in our valley. So there's 3. Skip, double in the next. Is that 5? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip, and then a double into the next. And there's our valley. See how it pulls this end up a little to make that beginning wave chevron look. Okay, so now we're going to start the peak. Skip the next, into the next, we work 2. And we're going to work 2 double crochet into the next 5 for a total of 6 single crochets with 2 doubles. So we're going to have 12 double crochets for our whole peak. So there's 1, 2, into the next goes 3 and 4. into the next goes 5 and 6, two, 4, 6, into the next is 7 and 8, next gets 9 and 10, I'm running out of slack, and into the next is 11 and 12, 11 and 12. So we have, starting to get that little wave, so we have our little half peak, 2, 4, 6 doubles, skip, 1, 1 double, skip 2 doubles, skip 3, skip 4, skip, and 5, which creates our valley. Then we skip 1 and start our peak, which is 2 double crochets into the next 6 singles. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So now we're going to start our valley again. Give me a little bit of slack. Okay. So to start our valley, we do the same thing. Skip the next single into the next with 1 double. Skip the next into the next for our second double. Skip into the next for a third. Skip the next into the next for our fourth. Skip the next and into the next for our fifth. I love this pattern. This is my go-to pattern if I have a couple of these Karen big cakes and I don't know what to make with them. I love this pattern for it. But anyhow, okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 singles left. So we're going to start our little half peak. So we're going to skip the next and into the last 1, 2, 3 gets 2 doubles for a total of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the last with 5 and 6. 5 and 6. So there's, yours isn't going to look quite like this. Mine's, you know, just a little short version to show you. So we got our wave, and now we repeat row 1, chain 1, turn, and we're just going to single crochet into every double crochet all the way across. So we chain 1, turn, go right in there with a single, and single all the way across. So go ahead and work your singles across. We're not skipping anything, we're not chaining anything, we're just single crocheting right across there. Alright, so go ahead and single crochet across and I'll meet you guys at the end. Okay, I've made it to the end and I wanted to show you, I don't want you guys to miss that last little double crochet right there. And since it's a chain 1 and with a then a chain 1 and then a double right after that, it kind of pulls it down a little bit. So you're going to have to turn your work just a tad and you'll see it laying right there. So go in there with your last single. And that's it. That is the the pattern for this entire baby blanket. What really makes this baby blanket pop is the color work. Now, with my baby blanket, what I did, I chained 154. And the reason I tried to keep it to that size is because I wanted to be able to make each color in my my Karen cake go 3 rounds. Or 3 rows. I keep saying rounds. 3 rows. So it's going to be 3 rows of blue, and then 3 rows of the next color, 3 rows of the next color, 3 rows of the next color. So you are going to have some scrap left over, but keep your scrap because we're going to add some fringe at the top and the bottom of this baby blanket. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I changed colors. So actually that last single crochet, I'm just going to pop that loop right out. And I'm going to leave these 2 loops on my hook. And so my last single crochet, I'm not finishing. I'm just going to set that down and grab my new color. Okay, so my new color I've got right here, and I'm just going to loop it around my finger, just like that. I'm going to take my hook, put my new color on my hook. I'm holding my piece and I'm going to pull it right through those 2 loops. So I'm finishing off that last single crochet with the same color. And then I'm going to pull tight, not tight, just pull it down a little bit. And I'm going to set it. And then I'm going to take, I don't have a pair of scissors next to me, so I'm having to pop this with my fingers. So I'm going to take the tail of my old color and the tail of my new color, and then just simply tie them in a knot, just like, there's no special knot. Make sure you have enough of your new and your old tails long enough to weave in. I'm going to pull that tight, pull that down, and now when I start my new row, or my new color, the first stitch is in the new color. So then, you don't have one stitch right here that's in an opposite color. So we're just going to start row 2 just like the last one. The first 3 singles get 2 doubles. Oops, that's a half double. I lost it. And you can work over your tails as you go. 1 and 2. But rewind the video if you need to see the pattern. So we work 2, 2, and 2 into the first 3 singles. That's our half peak. So we skip 1, and then we're going to start our valley again, just like we did here. 1 double crochet, skip 1. 1 double crochet, skip the next. 1 double, skip the next. And we're going to do that till we have 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we skip 1, and then we start our peak. 2 into the next 6 singles. So it comes out to where we have 12 doubles. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Skip the next, double, skip, double, skip, double, skip, double, skip, double, to where you have 5 doubles right there. And then keep repeating that across, and when you come to the end, you should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets left. Skip the next one, and then the last 3 get 2 doubles. Okay? So get your baby blanket worked up and come back here, and now we're going to add fringe to it. Okay, so for our fringe, I just grabbed my notepad, this little notebook I got, which measures 6 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and you can do this in all one color, you can do it in all of the colors of your scrap, because remember what I said, you work 3 rows of the baby blanket in one color, and then when you start the 4th, start with your new color. So when you finish the third row, don't finish that last stitch, which it could be a double crochet row or it could be the single crochet row. It doesn't matter. But don't finish off that last stitch. Leave the loops on your hook and then finish the stitch with the new color. Tie off and then start your work. So you're going to have some scrap left. And what I was going to say though is that you could do all the fringe in multiple colors, do it all in one color, whatever you guys want to work with. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this notepad, which is 6 inches, and I'm just going to set my yarn on here, hold it with my finger, and I'm just going to wrap around. Just wrap and wrap and wrap. Okay. So I'm going to hold that, get my scissors. I'm going to bend my notepad a little, get my scissors under there, and cut it. Okay, so I'm going to get my little piece I worked here. And if you guys, if you're following along with me and you found something that's 6 inches to wrap your yarn around, if your little fringe piece is going to be too long, don't worry about it. You can just snip them off after you get, like give your fringe a little haircut after you get your baby blanket made. Okay, so we're going to start at the bottom. I've already worked my first one in my little slip stitch right there. So whenever we worked our chain, turn this back over, I'll show you. We worked our chain, then we worked a row of single crochet. Well, so that left on our chain the back hump and the other heart, the other part of our heart of our chain. So I'm going to go right into both of those. I'm just going to go right into the 2 remaining loops. Put the little piece of fringe on my finger to where it doesn't have to be perfect. It's relatively the same length. I'm going to hold it, hook it on there, pull it through, and with both strands, chain 1. Pull it out and pull tight. And you guys could work 2 into each chain, however you guys want your fringe to come out. I'll do that one more time for you guys. Go in, grab a piece of your fringe, relatively the same length, pinch, put on my hook, pull through with both loops, chain 1, and pull her through. Right into both those loops. Relatively the same length. Hold it, get on your hook, pull through, chain 1. I would say, yeah, we're probably going to put more than 1 on there. Okay, so go ahead and work that across the top and the bottom of your guys' baby blanket. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoy. This is a little bit of a different video, but hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe, hit the notifications, and turn on all notifications. Check out in my description box. I've got my links to my Facebook, to my Instagram, Twitter, Etsy, TikTok, all that fun stuff. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today's tutorial is this ombre spiked granny chevron. I love this blanket. I have had this blanket for a long time, done actually, in a Chatting with Alana it's been a while ago. I showed this, and I've had it done since then, or not, well, no, I didn't finish it then, but I've had it done for a while, and I've just been putting it off to do the tutorial, and I finally got it ready and everything ready to go to sit down and film the tutorial. So first I want to apologize that I've had this done for so long and haven't filmed it. And yeah, so anyway, okay, so this blanket is, what I wrote it down. Where is it at? 44 inches wide. I have it folded in half. It's 44 inches wide by 53 inches long. So this is a bigger sized baby blanket. I'd say it's more of it'd be perfect for a toddler, like 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years old. Good size baby blanket. I didn't intend for it to be that long. I just kind of was like, oh, we'll try this and see how it works. And then I was like, I love this. So there's the measurements for that. Now, I want to talk about the yarn I used. Now, I used Hirschner's. First off, Hirschner's has a gradient yarn pack, and I'll put a link in the description box for you guys so you can click on those. And it has the yarn in the gradient color already. There's a green, there's a red, there's the blue, a purple, and then they have a black, a dark gray, a light gray, and then a white. I thought that one would be really, really pretty too. And I think they have another color, but I can't remember what it is. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description box. But what I have is the blue. And I started my blanket with the darkest, which is the Midnight. Now this is Hirschner's Worsted 8 yarn. 100% acrylic. It's 489 yards. So it's just a regular 4-weight acrylic yarn. I mean, there's nothing fancy about it. So, I mean, you could use any 4-weight you want to. So, like I was saying, I started with the darkest color. I have cat hair all over this. I started with the darkest color of the pack, and that is Midnight. And then, so like here's the darkest. So then I went to this blue, which is Royal. And then I went to the lighter blue, which is China Blue. And then I went to the lightest blue, Sterling. And that's what I repeated. I repeated the darkest to darker, the darkest to lighter to lighter to the lightest. The darkest to lighter, lighter, lightest. And that's what I repeated for this Afghan. Now you can definitely do it in the reverse, so where you start with the lightest and go to the lighter, lighter, darkest. I think that, it would just be like this besides the spike part. I think that would be really pretty. Get that laid back out. So that was the color choices I went with this, but you guys can use any 4-weight yarn you want to. So the stitch multiple for this baby blanket is 18 plus 7. So any multiple of 18 plus 7. So this was 187. So I took 18 times 10, which is 180. You just add the 0. And then plus 7. So 187. And that's how it got my blanket this wide. And then I just worked it until I liked the length. So any multiple of 18 plus 7. So be aware that, when you work that chain so let's just use this as an instance so I don't have to do math. 18 times 10, so I chained 180, then add 7, so 187. That long chain is gonna, it's gonna get a lot shorter once we work that chevron. So keep that in mind too. So, if you don't want yours as big as mine is, knock off 2 18s. So knock off 36 and then add your 7. So, so that would be 18 times 8 plus 7. Anyway, so that's your stitch count, okay? So I'm going to move this. Let's talk about what we're going to need. So I showed you the yarn. You're obviously going to need a pair of scissors. you're going to need a 6mm crochet hook, and then get you a needle to weave in your ends. And I suggest a good one because you're going to have a lot of ends. And what I suggest you do is work them as you go, because once you get this done, there's a lot of them to weave in, and it's can get a little overwhelming. And if you're crocheting along and you're like, I need a break, just take a break from crocheting and weave in some ends for a little bit. You'll be thankful you did. All right, and that's all you're gonna need. I mean, I know this looks a little complicated. It's not. It's really easy. But let's talk about the row repeat that we're gonna have. So we have our row 1, and then we have 2, and then 3. Now 3 is the exact same thing as row 2. The only difference is we're fastening off and changing color. So then we have row 4, and then we have repeat row 2, repeat row 3. So row 3, we fasten off, change color, go to row 4, and we have our spiked granny on the row 4. That's what's the difference between the other rows. And all that is a double crochet worked into the double that you're working right above. I mean, the shell you're working right above. I explain it in the video better. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I need to talk about? I don't think there is. So get your guys' supplies together, and let's, your chain count. Get your chain count that you want, okay? Get that chained, and then we're going to get started, all right? So get that together, get your chain done, and let's go. Okay, guys, so once you have your chain count worked out, figured out how wide or how long you want your chain to be, go ahead and get your chain done and come back here. Now, I've got a little sample done since I've gotten my blanket done already. Mine, I did 18, what was it, 18 times 3 plus 7, 61? Yes, that's correct. Okay, so let's get started. Row 1, we are going to work 3 double crochet into the 7th chain from our hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to work 3 double crochet in there. Now we're going to skip 2 chains, skip 2, and now we're going to shell into the next chain, So shell is 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to say that throughout the pattern, shell, shell into the next chain. Instead of saying 3 double crochet. Sorry, I'm getting some slack. Okay. Now back to the pattern. All right, so we worked 3 into the 7th chain from our hook, skip 2, shell into the next, skip 2, and then we're going to shell into the next. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to skip 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And into that very next chain right there, we're going to work another shell. And what we're doing is creating the valley of the chevron. So work your shell into the 6th. We skip 5 into the next. We work our shell. And if I lay this down, you can see how it naturally just wants to lay angled, and that's our valley. Okay, so now we skip 2, skip into the next, work our shell. All right, now we're going to skip 2, and into the next chain we're going to work the peak. And the peak is 3 double crochet, chain 2, and then right back into that same chain, 3 double crochet. So we skip 2, into the next, we work our peak, 3 double, chain 2, go back in there for 3 double, and that is our peak. So now if I lay it down again, you can see how it's already created the boop boop. Okay, now we're going to come back down to our peak. So we skip 2, shell into the next. Skip 2, shell, you see that? Skip 2, shell into the next. So if you notice, we have not our beginning part, but right here, we have our valley, 2 shells, peak, 2 shells, now we're going to work the valley. So our valleys and our peaks are going to be separated by 2 shells. All right, so I've got my peak here, my 2 shells, so I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then into that next chain we're going to work our shell. And I'm trying to keep this first double crochet of the shell after the valley, trying to keep that not tight, but don't let it get real long and stretched out. Okay, so there's our valley. Now we got 1 shell, we need 1 more shell. So we skip 1, 2, and into the next we work our another shell. And now you can see valley, shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, valley, shell, shell, peak. Okay, so I got my 2 shells. I'm going to skip 2 chains and into that next chain work my peak, which again is the, I should just say shell, chain 2, shell into the same chain. Chain 2. Dang it, get in there. 1, 2, 3. All right, so now we're going to skip 2, shell into the next. Skip 2, skip 2 chains, shell into the next. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, and I want you guys to repeat that across. Repeat your, try to find something to point with. Repeat your valley, your valley, 2 shell, peak, 2 shell, valley, 2 shell, peak, 2 shell, valley. Oh, excuse me. Repeat that across. So you skip 5 chains for your valley, into the next with the shell, skip 2 chains, shell into the next, skip 2 chains, peak into the next chain, skip 2 chains, shell, skip 2 chains, shell, skip 5 chains for your valley, shell into the next, skip 2 chains, shell, skip 2 chains, valley, and repeat that across your guys' chain, okay? And then when we get to the end, this is what you should have all the way across to the end. So we've got our peak, shell, shell. So I'm ready for my valley. So I skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the very next chain with my shell. skip 2 chains, shell into the next, skip 2 chains, and then we should be into that very last chain. And can you guys guess what we need to work into that very last chain? We have our valley, shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, valley, shell, shell. The very last chain gets the peak. So that's the shell, chain 2, go right back into that same chain with the shell. All right, and that is the end of row 1. So this is what your piece should be looking like. We have the, let me get it on camera. We have the chain 7 here, and we have 3 shells, and then we go into our pattern with our valley, 2 shell, peak, 2 shell, valley. And your valley will roll up like that, but that's all right. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. Where was I? Peak, shell, shell, valley, shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, valley, shell, shell, and then you end with a peak. Okay, so that's the end of row 1. And to move on to row 2, we are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn. Okay, so I need to turn my pattern page. Okay, so for row 2, we're holding our work, and right into the chain 2 of our very first peak right there, right into that very first chain 2, we're going to work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, just like that, okay? Now in between the next 2 shells, so that gap right there, right between there, we're going to shell. So we're going to go right in there and work a double crochet. Or I mean a double crochet shell, I should say. Sorry. Give me some slack. All right. And now we work a shell into the next space. 1, oops, 2, 3. So now we're to our valley. So we have our beginning chain, 3 shell, and now we start with our repeat. Skip the valley. So to skip, all we're going to do is just jump straight across, just like we're skipping the chain 5. Just pretend like it's here, and all we're doing is just jumping right across, and that's what creates the valley of the chevron. So make sure you work that first double crochet pretty nice, or not nice, but tighter, so that it's not really stretched out, and then finish your shell. Okay, see how it dips? All right, now we got 1 shell before our peak, and we have the next space where we're going to work our next shell. That was my stomach. I haven't eaten breakfast, I'm hungry. Okay, so we have our valley, shell, shell, and we're up to our peak. So now we work our peak into the chain 2 of the peak of our previous row. So that's a shell, chain 2, go right back in there with our shell. All right, and now we come down to our valley. So we work a shell into the next space, right in there. Then we shell into the next space, and then we skip our valley, shell into the next space, shell into the next space. You're at your peak. And now we come back down to towards the valley. So we got a shell in the next space, shell in the next space, and there's our valley. So we jump right across, skip, shell into the next space, shell into the next space. So I want you guys to repeat that across, and all you're doing is working shells into the spaces between the previous row's shell. And we're still keeping the 2 shell peak, 2 shell valley, 2 shell peak, 2 shell valley. Okay? So shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, valley. Shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, valley. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys repeat that row 2 across, and I'm going to come back when we get to the end, okay? Alrighty, so we have repeated that. Oh, I gotta adjust my seat. Repeated that across. We've got our, there you can see it, our peak, 2 shell, skip valley, 2 shell, peak. 2 shell, skip valley, 2 shell, and now we're to the end, and we've got this chain 7 right here, or chain 6 actually. And can you guys guess what we're going to work into that? Well, we got our peak, shell, shell, valley, peak, or I'm sorry, shell, shell, peak. So into that chain, oop, that's not the right hook. Into that chain 6 space, right here, we're going to work a peak. So shell, chain 2, shell. All right, so that is the end of row 2. And like I said, the chains from skipping at the beginning, skipping the valleys at the beginning is gonna curl up on us, but that's all right. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. I thought about putting fringe along the top and the bottom of the blanket, but I was like, nah, still not the project. I don't know how long it's been that I have wanted to put fringe at the top and the bottom of a baby blanket, and I've got to find the right one, and I just haven't made it yet. All right, so to move on to row 3, we're going to chain 4 and turn. And what we're going to do is repeat row 2. So right into the top of that shell, or into the top of that peak, we're going to work 1 shell. And then we're going to shell into each space between the next shells, the next 2. So 1, 2, and then we're to our valley. So we skip this, shell into the next space, and then to the next space, and then peak into the chain 2 of our previous row's peak. So it's the same thing. Shell, shell, skip the valley. Shell, shell, peak. Shell, shell, skip the valley. Shell, shell, peak. All right. So repeat that. Get off me. Repeat that across, and I'm going to meet you when we get to the end, okay? Okay, so I've repeated that across, and I've got my peak, shell, shell, valley, peak, 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 shell, shell, valley, shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, valley, shell, shell, and we're to the end. Into that chain 4, we're going to work our peak. One, 2, 3 doubles, chain 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we are going to change colors. All right, so to change colors, we're going to chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. Pull that, and there we go. All right, so now in my color sequence, I started with the darkest. Now I'm going to go to the next lightest. I'm going to go to the shade lighter, 1 shade lighter. So I'm going to go, which in mine is royal. All right, so get a slip knot on your hook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach right into the top of that last double crochet that we worked. Right into the top of that. And chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to tighten up that slip knot. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my work. And now we're going to start row 4. Okay, so row 4, it's pretty similar to row 2. The only difference is this row is where we start the spiked shells. Okay, so into that first chain 2, we're going to work our 3 double, just like normal. Okay, now we're going to come to our next space just like we would with our normal shell, and we're going to start with 1 regular double, and then the second double crochet we are going to work into the top of the double crochet that is actually 2 rows below. So like this row would be 1 row below, this is 2 rows below. So the shell you're working right above, we're going to work that middle double crochet right into the top of it, just like a normal double crochet, but you're going to be working over the space, over the stitches, not the stitches. Basically what we're doing is working over the top of the last double crochet and the last double, well, first double and last double right here. So we're going to come down and insert your hook right into the top of that middle double right there. Grab your working yarn from behind, and then we're going to bring it and pull it up, but watch the yarn on my hook. See how it shifted just a little? And then we're going to work that double. And then we're going to go back into the space, not into the double, but into the space. So you might need to wiggle your fingers in there, and then you're going to find the space and work a double. So it's the same space that first double crochet is into. And then we come down, double into the top of that double, bring your loop up, and then give it just a little more height, and then finish your double. So that's the spiked. Okay, so we're going to do that. Into the next space. Double like normal. And now we're going to work the spiked. So we yarn over, come down to that middle double from 2 rows below, grab your yarn, pull it up, and then shift it up just a little and finish the double. And now we got to double into the space, the same space that first double's into. So wiggle your fingers in there if you need to till you find your space, and then work your double. So that's the spiked. So we're to the valley, so we're going to skip the valley and now work our spiked shell. Go in, grab your yarn, pull it up, finish the double, and then double into the space. One more time. Normal double crochet. Come down into the top of the double from 2 rows below, grab your yarn, pull it up, adjust just a little bit for some more extra height, finish your double, and then go back into the same space and double. So that's our spiked granny, okay? All right, so now we're to our peak, and we just work our normal peak. Shell, chain 2, go back in there, and work a shell. Okay, so I think you guys got a pretty good handle. I mean, it's the same thing. All we're doing is just working that little spiked double crochet. All we're doing is working it into the double that we're working right above. That work into the middle double of the shell we're working right above. Okay, so I think you guys can handle that. We still have our 2, I'm going to say spiked shells. We have our 2 spiked shells, valley, 2 spiked shells, peak, 2 spiked shells, valley, 2 spiked shells, peak, 2 spiked shells, valley, 2 spiked shells. Can you guess what's going to go into the last? All right, so I'm going to work mine across, and I'm going to meet you guys when we get to that end. All right. Sorry. All right, I worked that across. I've got my 2 spikes shells, and into the last chain 4, we're going to work our peak. So 1, 2, 3 doubles. Chain 2 and 3 doubles. Okay, so now we just chain 4 and turn. 2, 3, 4. And then we repeat the normal double crochets. So we repeat rows 2, and then we're going to repeat row 3. So we just shell into the top of that chain 3, or chain 2, shell, shell, skip your valley, shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, skip your valley, shell, shell, peak. So just like row 2 we did earlier. So double into the very first chain 2. I'm sorry, shell into the very first chain 2. Shell into the next. Space between your shells. Shell into the next space. Skip your valley. Shell into the next space. Watch that first double. Shell into the next space. And then we're to our peak, so we work our peak. 3, or I'm sorry, shell. Ooh, my yarn got wonky there. Chain 2 and shell. Okay, so I think you guys can handle this on your own. We've done it several times already. So we shell, shell, skip your valley, shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, skip your valley, shell, shell, and I'm going to meet you here, okay? Be right back. Okay, so I've repeated that across. We're to the last chain space, or chain 4, and that gets the peak. 1, shell, chain 2, and shell. All right, so that was the end of row 5, which row 5 was we just repeat row 2. So row 6, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to repeat row 3. Now, I don't want you to get confused. The reason why it's row 2 and row 3, because, I mean, row 3, we do the exact same thing as row 2. But row 3, the only difference is we fasten off our yarn. So that's why I didn't say row 3 is you repeat row 2. Because it's technically not, because at the end of row 3, we fasten off, and that's when we change colors. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, repeat row 2, repeat row 3. So that way, every 3 rows, we change color. All right, so I am going to go ahead and finish my, or not finish, but move on to our next row. So we chain 1, 2, 3, 4. And turn. And into that, so we're going to repeat row 3, and row 3 is into that very first chain 2. We work 1 shell. And then shell into the next space, and the next space, skip your valley. Shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, valley. Shell, shell, peak, shell, shell, valley. So you guys repeat that across again, and I will meet you when we get to the end. Okay, so I've repeated that across. We're to the end, to that chain 4, right there, and I work my peak. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, go right back in there with another shell, 3 double crochet. All right, and to end, we chain 1, pull up a loop, and cut. So what we have is row 1, 2, 3, okay? So 2 and 3, the pattern, I want to go through this and explain it so you guys don't get confused, or I'm not unintentionally confusing you. So row 1, we're working in our chains, right? So row 2, we double crochet, or we shell, I'm sorry, into the spaces. Row 3, it's the exact same thing that we just did on row 2. The only difference is we, over here, cut and fasten off. We change color and we start row 4. Now row 4 is where we start our spiked grannies. That's what gives it that pop of design in it. And then we start row 2. We repeat row 2. So we double, or we shell into each space between the shells, right? Row 3, we work the exact same thing we did for row 2. The only difference is we fasten off, and then we attach a new color and work row 4. And then we work row 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, which we repeat all the way until you get to the desired length that you want for your blanket, which I have right here. So we worked 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4 spike granny, 2 regular granny chevron, 3 regular granny chevron, just fasten off at the end. Attach new color just like we did at the beginning. We're going to do that through the entire afghan and repeat that. So you change color every 3 row. And I wanted to explain that because that's why on row 3 I just didn't say repeat row 2, because technically the only difference is we're fastening off. Okay? All right, so that's it. You just work that and work that and work that as long as you want it to. And I made the point to stop on the same color I started with. So here's what my dark blue that I started, and I ended on the dark blue. So I kept it in the 4 color sequence. Dark, lighter, lighter, lightest. Dark, lighter, lighter, lightest. And kept it that way. However, I would like to see somebody start it with the lightest and then go to, like, just reverse it. So it would start light, lighter, lighter, darkest. You know, go see. I just would like to see that, but that's it, guys. Get all your ends weaved in. I didn't add a border to this because it doesn't need one. It creates this pretty effect all the way down. Cat hair. Go figure. But that's it, guys. Get your blanket done and then stay with me because we're going to work the pillow next, okay? So I want to thank you guys so very, 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 very much for watching. You guys are the greatest. Subscribe if you haven't because you don't want to miss what I've got next. Hit that thumbs up to give me some love and support. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And in the description box, there's links to my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter, my emails down there. Follow me on all of those. Tag me in the photos if you guys make this. I would love to see all the different colors you guys can come up with on this. And that's it, guys. That's it for me. Like I said, in the description box, I'm also going to have the links to the matching pillow and the whatever else I've got. Okay, guys, I'm out of here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.